We are the weirdos, mister.
Welcome back to the Final Ghouls of Horror. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Holly.
And I'm Elle.
We're three people who love horror and are coming at it from different perspectives of who we are, as well as very different levels of experience with the genre, which we're always excited to talk about. And this week we're going back to the 80s like the Aqua song as we take a look at Fear Street Prom Queen.
This is the night we've all been waiting for. Senior prom. Welcome, class of 88!
You want to be prom queen.
I just don't want you to embarrass yourself.
This is Shady Side. Nice girls don't win.
How do we get out of here?
So, if you've been listening to us for the last couple of weeks, as you know, we've been covering the Fear Street trilogy leading into this. Obviously, that means we're all fairly familiar with the franchise.
And if this is your first episode, hey, good choice and welcome.
Yeah, well, good choice because we're going to have a fun discussion. I'll put it that way. But yeah, let's talk a little bit of production history here. So, based off of the success of the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix, R.L. Stine said in July of 2022 that there were, in fact, discussions for additional films being developed. It was reported in December of that year that Chloe Okono would be directing an upcoming Fear Street installment, with Chernin Entertainment returning to produce. The next year, Stein said that this film series would continue with additional installments in development. This was confirmed later when it was said that the next installment would be a standalone. And then in January of 2022, it was confirmed that it was adapting the book The Prom Queen. It was officially titled Fear Street Prom Queen in March. The screenplay was written by Donald McCleary and Matt Palmer. Matt Palmer also directed. We did not get Chloe Okono. Someone dodged a bullet. At the same time as the title announcement, the initial cast was announced, which was India Fowler, Susanna Sun, Fina Straza, David Iacono, Ella Rubin, Chris Klein, Lily Taylor, and Catherine Watterson. Production was started in March 2024 and went through to May. It was released, well, as we're recording this, 3 days ago on May 23rd, 2025. It has not garnered good reviews, and we'll have plenty to say about that. Before we get into the plot synopsis and then probably tearing this thing apart, I'm snarky today. Give you a little bit of a content warning here. This film has plenty of gore, some creepy mannequins, and a brief scene of vomit. And honestly, I couldn't think of anything else, unless there's something that I missed that you guys can think of.
The 80s? High school?
I mean, high school, yeah, society, high school pressure.
The hair and fashion of the 80s? I know that's a problem for some people.
That is true.
Very heavy quote.
If you're someone who is set off by anachronistic songs, this movie is not for you. But yeah, let's before we get too much into tearing apart, let's talk about what this movie is about with a fairly short plot synopsis. So we open in 1988. Shady Side High is days away from their senior prom. Our lead girl, Lori Granger, is running for prom queen against every member of the Wolf Pack, which is this film's Heathers. We have a Regina George named Tiffany Faulkner and her friends Melissa, Debbie, and Linda. Lori is an outcast because her mother was accused of murdering her father, although she got off. The night before prom, the final candidate, bad girl Christy Renault, and that is all you will ever know of her, is axed to death by a masked killer. A prom then happens, and Lori attends with her best friend Megan, who likes using horror props to terrorize the wolf pack. She uses a fake head in the punch bowl, that old chestnut, as a prank, which causes her and Lori to argue. As this is going on and Laurie is being tormented by Tiffany, the other candidates find themselves being killed by the killer. Linda and her boyfriend die in a classroom. Debbie and her boyfriend Judd head off to the boiler room, where Judd is murdered with a saw and Debbie is electrocuted. Laurie finds herself confronted by Tiffany about her mother and gets so mean that Melissa turns on her and helps Laurie get a makeover consisting of cat's eye eyeliner. And that's it. Tiffany splashes punch on Melissa's dress and she heads off to the bathroom where she finds herself murdered by, gasp, two killers. Throughout all of this, Tiffany's boyfriend Tyler falls for Laurie and eventually breaks up with Tiffany to be with her. They head to the auditorium where Tyler tries to get it on with Laurie but gets stabbed through the top of the head. Laurie runs off and the killer chases. She reunites with Megan and the two run into the basement where they get locked inside, escaping the killer through a window. They rush back to the gym where Laurie is declared prom queen because people are tired of Tiffany's shit. The killer chases them onto the stage and kills people along the way until Laurie stabs him in the eye. It is revealed that the killer is Tiffany's father, Dan. To Tiffany and her mother's apparent shock, he was trying to kill everyone so that she would be prom queen. Tiffany makes up with Laurie and they head to Tiffany's house as Nancy has to give a statement to police. Nancy returns home and reveals herself as the second killer, but plot twist, Tiffany is the third one. Tiffany reveals that she also killed Laurie's father after he broke up with her and got with Laurie's mom. Laurie ends up shoving Tiffany through the banister down to the first floor where she gets impaled on the hallway decoration. She then kills Nancy, and in a mid-credit scene, the witch's mark appears in her blood. The merciful end.
So, good film?
Yeah, it's great. So let's get into the discussion. I did kind of rush through all of that stuff because, well, fortunately, this is very easy to summarize. Let's have fun.
You missed the best part during your synopsis.
Which part was that?
The dance-off.
Oh.
I will have things to say
Good.
about how many movies this movie rips off. But before that, let's start on a fun topic. Fun-ish. Probably re-traumatizing, but still potentially fun. There's fun in that. I want to get a prom baseline here. So, Elle, did you go to a prom in school? And if so, how did it go?
So, Australia doesn't have proms.
Right. Sorry. Some kind of dance thing.
Yeah, we do a school formal, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up being closer to what you see of a wedding reception than what you see of a prom.
Okay.
So it is that little bit more formal and a sit-down dinner, a little bit of light discussion. There may be some dancing sometimes.
Open bar?
Not
For high
for
school?
the kids.
You said wedding, so I thought open bar.
I mean, I'm not saying that didn't happen.
Right.
I have been to 4 because they do one for year 6, which is the end of primary school before you go to high school for the other 6 years.
Right.
They do one at year 10 because that's when people get to choose whether or not they're continuing with school or going to a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Did one for year 12, which is the final year of high school. You know, everyone's sad and going to university or just sad.
Right.
And I did one for my friend's year 12 because she had no one to go with because she was terrible to be around. And mostly I got bullied into it by my mum, who was friends with her mum and, yeah, doing her a favour.
Right.
Yeah. How to best put this? There would not have been a dance-off at the kind of schooling that I'd received. There would have more likely have been a gang war.
Okay, fair enough.
That's why I was very surprised when this movie had a dance-off, because I'm like, well, no, you throw punches. You just get him in a headlock and start going to town. That girl's face is still a face and not a pile of mincemeat. So
Yeah.
this the year 6 one was held at the school. The others were like in proper rented out spaces.
Right.
And yeah, it's like, again, looking into this world of the Americas, it's like, this is so bizarre that it's this much of an issue and not like people barely want to be there as it is.
I mean,
like, even the people that liked that type of stuff are just like, why are we even here? Like, we could go to a club or the pub.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like there's such a culture around prom in America in general that it gets built up to a big thing. I mean, how many movies are about proms? And how many
Yeah.
did this movie rip off?
And how many are about school formals?
True.
Even then, it's like did research into making sure that my experience, 20, 30 something, and the rest years after, is still basically the same. And
Mm-hmm.
no, there is that little bit of Americanism is kind of creeping in. But by and large, it's, very overly controlled and no one wants to be there. Even if some
Fair
people
enough.
are renting out Hummer limos for their 3 friends or not.
Fair enough. Holly, how about you? Did you go to prom? What was your prom story?
All right. Well, now is when we find out that my high school experience plays out like a movie. I have had a lot of people comment on this before. Yeah. So
Did you have a bunch of prom queens dress up in American bathing wear for a choreographed dance scene too?
absolutely no. Though I wouldn't put it past the Regina George of my high school to try to do something like that. But I went to junior and senior prom, and I went to 3 of the 4 homecomings that my school did. I was
Mm-hmm.
well versed with dances. Let's see, for junior prom, I managed to thoroughly piss off the Regina George of my high school
Ooh.
by bad mouthing her so that she ended up not on prom court. And when I say bad mouthing, I mean telling the truth about her.
Right.
And let's see, I spent most of it in the bathroom with my friend who was hiding from her ex who was stalking us around the prom.
Oh, Jesus.
So that was junior prom. And then senior prom was more fun. And I went with just a couple of friends and we had a good time. And ironically, when, gosh, what is the main girl's name in this movie?
Lori.
Lori, right. I didn't care enough. When
I want to say I am really sorry to anybody who really liked this movie and wanted to hear what we thought of it.
But you're hearing what we thought of it.
let me just throw out, like, I can't believe I didn't remember that because Lori was my mother's name. But this is how much I did not care about that character or this film.
Fair enough.
So, my hair and makeup for my senior prom looked just like when she did her little makeover, whatever she wanted to do. Like that was my exact makeup and like my hair pulled back like that and everything.
Huh.
So yeah, this was also 2000s.
Right.
So I'll get into other comments on time period and stuff later on this movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think my senior prom was a lot of fun. I still don't think I probably had the full prom experience because I kept wanting to do stuff after prom and like all
Right.
my friends wanted to go home and go to bed. And I was like, you guys are lame. I wanted to go to the movies and because that was when the remake of Prom Night came out. And now looking back at it, I'm kind of happy I didn't go to the movies to see that.
You dodged a bullet.
I know a group from our prom was going to see that. But yeah, I probably did. But yeah, and then I guess I was thinking to like so many things I was reminded of. I have more memories with like homecoming than prom, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
my homecomings were more eventful with me dancing with this girl who was my rival, the guy that she came with and everything, and she got like super pissed off. And then another one where my boyfriend like ended up, it wasn't a dance off, but like he did the thing where like he just went crazy and I didn't know he could dance like that and like everyone was like around him cheering and stuff.
Right.
And then another one where my friend and I confronted this girl who was supposed to be going to homecoming with our guy friend, but then she claimed she was sick, but then she showed up with somebody else, and then a fight almost broke out. So, like I said, my high school kind of plays out like a movie.
A little bit, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's impressive actually.
Now
Yeah.
you've just dropped another thing on me. Homecoming?
Homecoming is
It happens in the fall. So, okay, prom is the end of the year. Homecoming. See, I
right.
always preferred homecoming because it also didn't cost. It cost like $90 to go to my prom.
Yeah,
It was
no, yeah.
ridiculous.
Because prom is the big farewell mostly for the seniors, and then
And it was why, like, my best guy friend at the time, like, we were going to go to senior prom just as friends, and we were going to have a great time, but he couldn't afford it,
right.
so he couldn't. And so I was really sad that he wasn't able to make it. So
Mhm.
yeah, homecoming is. I can't even remember if homecoming cost. If it did, it was like $20. It wasn't
Yeah, it's way
ridiculous.
cheaper.
You do it closer to the beginning of the school year. It's usually in October, and you do the homecoming football game, which is like the
Yes.
big football game. And usually, what a school does, my dad was a big football person, and I was a cheerleader. Usually, what a school does is they will make sure that it's a sure thing. They will pick another team that you're playing against that is generally a bad team so that you know that your school's going to win. Because
Yep.
if you lose the homecoming game, that's just a depressing weekend because the whole week is like pep rallies. I went to a small town football high school. So the whole week is pep rallies and dressing as different things and parades down our hallway with football players and cheerleaders. And then you have the game on Friday night, and then you have the dance on Saturday night.
Right.
So yeah, if you lose the game, everybody's depressed the next night. So I don't think we ever
Oh
lost the
boy.
homecoming game when I was
That
there.
that is a lot.
Yeah. But even like, look, I went to a high school where I want to say it was my first year there. Our football team went like 2-10 or whatever it was. And yes, they lost their homecoming game.
How was the
Like,
vibe of the dance?
eh, it's fucking Aloha, Oregon, where we're not a football
Okay,
mini town. Like,
this is Georgia.
yeah, no, for sure. The team had always been kind of bad. So it was just like, okay, we lost. Well, dance time. So yeah, it didn't bother us as much.
And that is another thing that also just threw me a little bit for a sec. Oh, it's near the start of the year in October.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
no, the start of the year is in January.
it
Because
is not.
also for
Nope.
Australia, it's like the school starts maybe the last week of January, but definitely the first week of February, and it goes until essentially the week before Christmas.
August for us, at least in Georgia, it starts in August. And then
Yep,
homecoming would be either like the last week of September or like the first 2 weeks of October, usually.
yep. And it runs until this school year. We always started in Oregon, we always started the day after Labor Day. That's when our school year started. I don't know if that's still the same, but that was how it was. And then, yeah, it runs until May.
It's how it's supposed to be, but it starts. I was looking up the start of the school year for the kids this coming up year. It's like August 3rd.
Why?
And okay, this is Georgia. No, I'm sorry, August 4th. I'm looking it up. So this is in Georgia. Do you know how hot it is
Right.
the first week of August last year when Griffin, my oldest, went to school? They weren't able to play outside for the first 3 weeks because you cannot let the children out if it's over like 92-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
And he was complaining about that, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want you to die. So
Right.
that's why they have you in the gym, okay? But yeah, it's dumb. It is
Yeah.
dumb. But
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
we also have the no hat, no play policy in Australia, which is it doesn't matter the time of year. If you do not have a hat, and usually one that covers the back of your neck, like you're in the French Foreign Legion, you do not get to go outside.
oh, we're not allowed to wear hats.
Well, yeah, but in all fairness, though, that sounds equal parts the weather and a not infinitesimal chance that something's going to fall out of the sky with multiple legs and kill you.
Oh, it's usually the ones that crawl up from the ground that get you.
Fair.
But also, yes, the instantaneous eruption of children probably is something to avoid.
Yes, probably. So I know that I went to both junior and senior proms. To be completely honest, I have no real memories of my senior prom. And not because I was like drunk or high or anything like that, the way most people don't remember their proms. I don't really have any memories of it. I know where it took place. It was a place downtown Portland. I vaguely remember what it looked like inside, and that's it. And I don't remember if I was still with my girlfriend at the time. But yeah, anyways, the one I remember is my junior prom because this one's memorable. So I ended up going with a girl that I had been not creepy obsessed, but obsessed with. There was a little bit of miscommunication because this person thought we were going as friends
Ah,
and ended up leaving with somebody else.
so sorry.
It's fine.
That's
Honestly,
awful.
I thought it makes for a horrifying story. At the time, I was like, huh.
Where does she live?
No, I want to be clear. She is a really, really cool person. I ended up, when I was still on Facebook, I ended up reconnecting with her there. She is a really, really fantastic person.
So a good friend of mine ended up in a similar situation at our senior prom, where like he brought this girl, but she was like his 12th choice.
Uh huh.
The girls he was choosing kept falling through, and honestly, the two of us should have just gone together as friends. Anyway, so he brought this girl who was like a friend of a friend of a friend,
Right.
and she was like, okay, so like, do we go to the hotel room now? And he was like, no, there's no
What?
hotel. He's like, no, there's no hotel room. No, I
Holy
wanted to
shit.
go because like he wanted to go to like a bunch of after parties and stuff. Again, I should have just
Right.
gone with him. I think I would
Right.
have had a good time. But yeah, and so she like they stopped by like another prom that was happening on that night. He had lots of friends everywhere. And like she refused to dance. She refused to dance at our prom, that prom, and she barely even said hi to me. He had a lot of friends who were girls, and that seemed to make her really angry.
Ah. Okay.
And so yeah, so like I was trying to, because this is like one of my best friends at the time, so like we were trying to talk and stuff, and I was like, I'll dance with you, and she got so mad. And I apparently she thought this was like, I don't know, a long-term situation. I By the way, 2 weeks later, he came out, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, like we, okay, maybe I knew because the two of us had been talking about it a lot, like leading up to it, but seemed obvious to me. Anyway,
Right.
yeah, and she was like, no, like where's the hotel room? Are we staying here? And
Jesus
like,
Christ.
yeah, he said like that Monday, he's like, I had the worst Saturday night. Like I dragged her from party to party, and she was awful. And then I finally took her home early, and she got mad at me.
I do want to, by the way, just to further defend this person, I want to be clear about one thing. She did not leave and like just
Yes, no, she
go.
didn't leave. Yeah,
She was like, "Hey, I'm gonna head off with these people. Are you okay with that?" And I was like, "Huh? Yeah, sure, that's fine." So I don't understand how, but honest misunderstanding.
right.
But yeah, outside that, obviously we had homecomings. I went to homecoming every year. We did Sadie Hawkins dances,
We did those.
which
I was always in a show that weekend and was never able to do
All right, now
Elf
you're just
for
taking the piss out of me.
no,
it.
Sadie Hawkins dances are the ones where back in the olden days, when it was traditionally the guy who would ask, the Sadie Hawkins was supposed to flip that dynamic. And the girls were the ones who were asking people to go with, and etc. That's what a Sadie Hawkins dance is. I assume it's named after somebody.
God, you guys are weird. I'm glad we're all normal down here.
Yeah, oh yeah, you guys are totally normal down there. Anyways,
Especially me.
yeah, for sure.
How's that giraffe that kidnaps kids into vans?
Yep,
Still very anti-drug.
good for him.
A lot creepier looking, though.
Less good. So now that we've got our prom stories, horror stories, lack of stories, etc. stories out of the way, we don't have anything else to talk about, so let's talk about this movie.
Are you sure we can just end the episode?
No.
And on that note, let me know. No.
So this movie, I would say, like, we had all talked about what we were hoping to see out of this movie, what we thought we might see out of this movie. And I think at least the one thing that we all agreed on was it would be connected to the Fear Street franchise. And this is mildly at best, but it is. So I guess, there are definitely things that connect it, but like, how well does the connections that are there work for us? Does it feel like it's set in the same universe? Holly, how does all of that work for you?
It absolutely does not. It does not feel like it is connected at all to any of this, and it is really reaching. The few times that they actually try to connect it, I forgot at one point that this was even supposed to be Fear Street. Told you I got thoughts.
You're not wrong. Like, I guess I'll start ripping into it. Besides the random snark I've been throwing at it, I started getting a bad feeling with this movie right off the bat because it does not look like, and I understand different director, different cinematographer, different decade, but I was a little bit surprised that this looks visually nothing like the other films. It is shot in this sort of, it's not desaturated, but it is definitely less colorful than 94, 78, maybe about as much as the 1666 stuff, but that stuff was like specifically like desaturated. So, and let me tell you, making a film where it has color. It's not like some indie film where everything is washed out, but minimizing the amount of color that you're using is definitely a choice for a movie set in the 80s. But yeah, in regard to the connections, I'm kind of with you on it. I was like, okay, they're tossing in a Sarah Fear reference here and there. They're making reference to the curse every now and then, and that's kind of it until the mid credit scene. Did both of you stay with it long enough to watch the mid credit scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Unfortunately.
Which, it's fine. The reason I'm referencing it here is it feels very much like it was after watching the cut they have of the film, they went, oh, this really isn't connected to anything, let's throw something in, because it doesn't make any sense with the rest of the story at all. It creates weird continuity errors because we saw the wall, we saw the names carved on it, and as near as I remember, there were no names between 1978 and 1994.
Wait, is that? I'm sorry, I'm totally thrown off. So is that what the post credit?
That's my assumption.
Was supposed to, like, they were, because they were not possessed by the witch.
They weren't.
There were no flies around them. They did not have that vacant expression. They absolutely were not possessed by the witch.
But
none of them.
What else does it mean if when she bleeds out, the blood forms in the form of the mark?
It's still absorbing power from just the town in general.
All right, I can actually see that, and I will give you that. That requires us doing some serious interpretation.
I would go with that before I would go with any form of they were possessed, because they 100% were not possessed.
I agree. That's why I was saying I had a problem with it. The problem is the movie doesn't make it clear, and yeah.
I really think that they were just trying to do more nods towards the original 3 movies, and they didn't even bother to think if it actually fit or not.
It doesn't seem like they did, because that was when I initially thought it. It's like, well, that's the only thing it can be. I like Elle's theory. I like
Yeah.
your theory that it is the witch absorbing. It makes sense.
Like background power, not like direct influence.
Sorry, we should be clear. Not the witch, but the mark.
Yes. Yeah, the witch's mark.
Because the witch was innocent, as we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the devil's mark or witch's mark or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Satan's taint.
I don't think the film is doing the work to give us that indication, but it makes more sense than anything I got, clearly. Elle, what do you think about these connections?
This is completely connected to the Fear Street trilogy if you only read the title.
Yep.
Other than that, no.
I was afraid we were going to start arguing.
Like, it could have just been a completely separate movie. It's like, yeah, we're adapting the original story.
Mm-hmm.
It is ostensibly set in the same universe, but it's not as connected. It's like you could have done that because otherwise,
Sure.
there will be people trying to find more connections rather than from the outside going, "Hey, it's not really connected."
Right.
I think that would have solved a few problems rather than even leaving it not said, where people are now going, "Oh, well, it's connected." It's like, well, is it? Like, this does not feel like the universe that leads to the 1994 that we see.
No, not at all.
I can kind of see where it has come from the 78.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a potential 88 that comes from that 78, but I don't think it's the 88 that leads to the 94. This is a divergent timeline.
That's my other problem with this film and its connections. I don't know that the writers or the director have watched the Fear Street trilogy. It feels like they didn't because they put in lines like the what happened inside the school is worse than 78.
Mhm.
No, it fucking wasn't. There are like 6 dead people in that school.
But you gotta understand, it's worse because it happened to me.
Like,
Yeah. Also, 78. Those were like kids.
those were kids, and there were like, I seem to remember like 12 bodies when they had them all laid out.
I want to say there was more, but
Yeah. There were at least 2 Prom Queen massacres worth of people.
Yeah, but that was like back then, and I'm talking now when it's affecting me, so it's much worse. It ruined my prom.
14 deaths at Camp Nightwing.
14, yeah.
14. Yep.
And we have, okay, in this one, we have Linda, Debbie, Melissa, 2 of the boyfriends, Tyler, and what, maybe 1 or 2.
The cultists, the Tiffany cultists.
Yeah, the Tiffany cultists. So there's 9. So it's not quite, no wait, that was 8. It's not quite 2
There's
because I think Dan axed up a couple other people on the way to the stage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, 2 at least on the way up, and the
Yeah.
principal survived.
yep, it's things like that. And the thing that gets me is it would not have been hard to make the story that you want to make, do this same story, better script, but do this same story and include things that are actual nods, not Sarah Fear's name on a wall in the bathroom stall and that post-credit sting thing. Put Mary Lane in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
She's working as a nurse at the school. She's the lunch lady, and it would be so easy.
People kept having theories that we were going to see like a young version of Dina or something.
Uh-huh.
Because she would have been like middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have had that. You could have seen her in the town or something.
Yep. Like, it would have been really not hard, but apparently too hard.
The thing that I find most amusing is this is the better version of the Prom Queen story.
Oh dear.
So yes,
You read the book.
you read the book. So break it down for us. What is the difference between the two? I know that the names are different because I did a Wikipedia search,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
So I'll run down the synopsis because, god damn it. The story centers on Elizabeth McVeigh and her friends Dawn, a tennis jock, Rachel, born from the wrong side, the poor side of town. Simone, an aspiring actress, and one from outside their little friend group. Elena, a modest girl that's from old money, so very rich, as they all get announced in popular vote to be running for prom queen. In the month before that, like before prom, a pair of killings of young girls have had the town concerned, even if they happened in other counties. After breaking up with her boyfriend, Simone is comforted by Lizzie. In the morning, she no shows a play rehearsal, but while the others are not concerned because she has a bit of a history of dramatics, Lizzie goes to check on her. And as she enters her room, she sees a puddle of blood, a broken window, and a man escaping out into the night. The prom queen candidates suspect the serial killer, and the town just tries to be vigilant. Lizzie then discovers she has a bit of a stalker, one of the kids at school who is a bit into death as a kind of collection thing. Rachel then calls Lizzie overnight screaming for help, causing her to rush over in the middle of a storm. We also learned via the news that serial killer had been taken into custody, so everyone starts relaxing a bit. When Lizzie arrives, it's revealed that Rachel is fine, but in hysterics because her longtime boyfriend decided to call it quits 3 weeks before prom, and which is such a disaster. Lizzie manages to calm her down before leaving to go home because it's nearly the middle of the night.
In fairness, that is a dick move from the boyfriend.
The police then show up to question her as she was the last person to see her alive, as Rachel is found dead in her room. Instead of worrying too much about it, the pair of Dawn and Lizzie go to a movie to take their minds off things. Dawn is attacked,
As you do.
but just knocked out, not killed. The prom then seems likely to be cancelled, but Dawn insists, saying it's what the others would have wanted for them to go ahead.
It's what she would have wanted.
Yep. During a rehearsal of the play, where Dawn has now taken the lead role from Simone, Lizzie works the backstage of set control, and a sandbag falls, nearly knocking Dawn out again. Except it's not a sandbag, it's Elena's corpse with her face caved in. Dawn is adamant that the contest goes ahead.
Jesus Christ!
As Lizzie starts investigating, Simone's ex actually ambushes Lizzie to ask her to prom, just acting more like a stalker than her already existing stalker. Turns out he's slept his way through the entire grade, but saved her for last. She says no, to his great shock, which is why Simone broke up with him in the first place. The night before the opening night of the play, Dawn is attacked in front of Lizzie, stabbed through the chest. She tackles the killer, revealing it to be Simone. She reveals that she hadn't even been specifically targeting the prom queen candidates, just everyone who had betrayed her, and Lizzie was assumed that, oh, she must have slept with my ex, she must therefore die as well. That is her reasoning. It's coincidental that the prom queen candidates are being killed. She tries to go for the kill, except Dawn, who is not dead, slashes her leg with a knife, giving Lizzie the advantage to pin her down and yell for help as police arrive. We then cut to prom night, where Dawn and Lizzie enjoy a nice prom. No official queen is crowned. The stalker kid hooks up with a like-minded weirdo girl. The ex-boy toy moves on to yet another woman who is visiting from another school, and nobody ends up winning. That is the story of the Prom Queen novel.
How did...
Completely different.
Yeah, just a bit.
And yet, I think you're right. Somehow worse.
Yeah. And that book was much better done by Agatha Christie, and then there were none.
Uh-huh.
So
Very
yes,
much
this
so.
movie, after reading the book, I am much happier about.
That is a fair point. That is a really fair point.
Which is why I thought I should do the research to bring this into this discussion, because even before I had watched the movie, I was getting the input of, oh boy, this is going to suck. I have that comparison. It's pretty damn good.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's talk about the characters, and I use that term
Do we have to?
fairly loosely in some instances. Like, look, this is a slasher, a very straightforward one at that. So we don't need in-depth characters, but we do at least need them to fulfill strong archetypes. We need to be able to latch onto them. We need to have something that, if we're not going to get depth to these characters, we need some kind of shorthand of like, okay, this is a character I can compare it to that I like, and the performance is strong enough that I can go along with it, and we need a final girl we can relate to. Ollie, it sounds like that's a no all around.
Sorry, I'm being really snarky right now.
No, it's okay. We're all being snarky.
Yeah, it's like, if these are your genuine thoughts, give us your genuine thoughts.
Did anyone else want Laurie to die? Because
No, I'll be
okay, just me. I'm horrible.
Laurie is the character that bothered me this third least.
I kind of just wanted them all to die.
I didn't specifically want her to die. I wanted her to develop a character that then would die. There's no point in like the slasher going up and stabbing a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, I can't remember anybody's names. I apologize.
That's because none of the
Tiffany's the only one.
I will give you hints here.
Oh, okay.
So Tiffany is obviously the Regina George and the killer. Melissa is the one that becomes Laurie's friend. Debbie is the so-called mouthpiece of the wolf pack. Can you give any identifying trait to Linda?
She, in my opinion, was the one that looked the most 80s.
I will give you that.
That's the
one
only
that
way I remember her.
feels like she could have been on top if everyone didn't care as much. Like, she starts going into business for herself.
That is the only thing that I could identify her with. She was the one that made the flyers.
The guy, Tiffany's boyfriend. What was his name?
Tyler?
Tyler. Thank you. Okay, I am sure he is probably a good actor.
Okay, yep.
I think that they probably would have gotten a better response if they had replaced him with a cardboard cutout.
Yes. I'm okay with most of the performances because these actors have nothing to work with. I think that India Fowler, who plays Laurie, I think she's giving a good performance with a nothing character. Because she gets that sort of doe-eyed final girl thing that you have to do. I think Ella Rubin, who is Melissa, she gives the best performance of the kids. That was the one character that I actually liked.
Wait, which one?
The one who becomes Laurie's friend.
Yeah, she was fine. I didn't have any major issues with her.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I was tired or anything, but I could have sworn that they used AI to youthify Ashley Johnson as the lead character.
She does have an Ashley Johnson look about her, yes.
Yeah, it's just like that's weird. And then looking at, oh, no, she's her own person. Okay, whoops.
Yep. But yeah, David Iacano, who plays Tyler, this scene in the pizza joint, there was nothing resembling emotion coming out of his lines.
I know. I was like, do not tell me they are setting these two up because there's nothing.
No, there was no chemistry. And again, I'm not putting on the actor. I think it was a bad performance, but that's also could be a case of just trying to turn shit on the page into something.
I was rooting for Laurie and what was her best friend's name?
Megan?
Megan.
The very obviously queer character, yes.
Yeah, I was rooting
Who
for
is
them.
never explicitly the queer character.
There's more chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah.
Far more than there was between Laurie and a cardboard cutout guy.
Yeah.
How I will remember him.
Tyler.
Yeah, cardboard cutout, yeah.
I remembered her name as well, because again, it's maybe a regional difference that we don't pronounce it like that.
Yes.
Instead of Megan, it feels weird. It's Megan.
Right. I liked Ella Rubin's performance. I liked India Fowler, her performance, not the character. Megan was fine.
She was better than most of the others.
The performance was very good. The character was the Randy.
Yeah.
And I'll be going off on that shortly. And I liked the actress who played Tiffany.
I didn't like her.
She got the core of the character down. The only thing about that character, be a bitch.
So I kept thinking about, and once again, I'm sorry, so many characters in this movie.
No, you're fine.
The mean girl from 1978. Sheila. I was like,
yeah.
She was so much better. She had so much more depth, and that actress played it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And you need something like that for Tiffany. And it wasn't working for me.
I am probably going to be more forgiving then I'm willing to bet at least you, Holly, over Tiffany and her mom, because I actually like the final act twist. It's the only part of the movie that I really like.
I have comments on that, and we'll get there.
Yes, we'll get there.
Likewise.
But yeah, these characters, they're sure characters, huh?
Where are these characters?
Yeah, I don't know.
You got the principal, you got the overly religious
Oh,
vice
yeah.
principal, you have the guy that works in the pizza shop. Yeah, that's about all the characters I can think. No, the DJ. That's about all the characters I can list.
Are the characters in the room with us right now?
God, I hope not. It's a long way away.
Also, what kind of blackmail does Netflix have on Lily fucking Taylor to get her in this movie?
Yes.
The
yes.
vice principal.
No, yeah, that shocked me. Yeah.
I adore her. I also love Catherine Waterston, who plays Nancy, Tiffany's mom. She had the batshit crazy down in the last act, so I was on board with Nancy. But the vice principal is a nothing character.
And I wanted to mention, as I'm hoping I'm getting her name correct, Ariana Greenblatt. Greenblatt. This girl has a career.
Right.
She was the girl from the Barbie movie, which I love that movie. She's in so many other things too. She was the first kill. She had nothing. She was given nothing.
Yep.
Why?
Christy has no character traits other than bad girl drug dealer.
Which is still probably more character than our main characters.
Well, the main character, at least, those characters have backstories. Bad backstories, but backstories.
For the 2 seconds that I saw her, I was like, oh, finally, a character I'm starting to like, and then she's dead.
In the second stupidest way in this movie, by the way.
Oh, I'm curious which one. See, I thought the stupidest, but I'm curious.
No. There is a much dumber one, and we will get to that when we get to the Gorkas.
Okay.
Holy shit. So I think we all agree there are no characters in this worth talking about in any length, despite the fact that we have. This is the one where I'm going to really go off. This film is set in the 80s.
Oh, I'm going to be there with you.
And look, we know this is a popular set era for horror settings. We covered this in the 1994 episode. I'm going to answer my own question. How well does it conjure that decade? Not a damn bit.
So, we start off in what I can only describe as the late 90s.
Right.
Then, by the time the girls are putting on prom dresses, we are in the early 2000s.
Because they're saying everything is epic.
Also the prom dresses.
Also the prom dresses, yes.
I know those dresses. I tried on some of those dresses.
Yeah.
That is early 2000s.
Yep.
The dresses, the hair. Where's all the color?
This shit makes time cut look era appropriate.
Yes! I had that same thought. Which again, we will get there and I will rip that one apart. But
yeah, but compared to this, that's on a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
There was just every single thing. This film does exactly what I was happy that 1994 didn't do, which is, here's the popular song, let's use that for a needle drop at every opportunity. It has less of them than 1994, which is good because that makes it somewhat bearable, because considering what they chose, yeah. But some of them are deeply anachronistic. The one I'm going to go off on is our big Mean Girls rip-off dance sequence moment.
Yeah.
Literally, that's just the Mean Girls sequence, except for it takes place at prom and another character's on the stage, which is set to Roxette's The Look. Now, when I heard that, I immediately went, because I know that song. That was one of my favorite songs when it came out. I adored Roxette. That song came out in mid 1989.
Am I remembering this wrong? I thought it was set to Gloria.
I'm not talking, not the dance off.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about, I know what you're, okay. I'm sorry. There are 2 dance numbers in this.
There are 2 dance numbers in this because one was not enough.
So you're talking about the patriotic.
Yeah. If they were wearing Santa outfits, it would literally be Mean Girls one. Yeah.
Oh, don't compare it to Mean Girls.
Damn, I can't not.
I
It's
know.
ripping it off.
But Mean Girls is good.
Yes.
So, as a clarification, when does prom happen again?
May,
May.
the month we are
This is
currently
May
in.
1988.
Okay. Because the album that the look is actually on released on the 21st of October 1988. The single came out in 89.
Okay,
Correct.
so it hadn't even come out yet.
The album hadn't even come out yet. And I realize there are people out there who are going to be like, look, this is a nitpick. And you're right, because we kind of let 1994 go with a couple of its anachronistic ones. The difference is this was the diegetic music in a major set piece where it was the focus.
Mm-hmm.
And you could choose literally any 1980s song. It's not like there aren't a ton of other fairly inappropriate for teens to dance to songs. I don't understand why they chose it because it doesn't even sound like an 80s song. It sounds like an early 90s song because it was kind of ahead of its time that way. It drove me up the wall. And that's before we get into the fact that, yes, they're using dialogue that is not. I'm not saying that I want these characters to be saying tubular and shit like that.
So the book that I'm reading, again, it's not Fear Street, but it is R.L. Stein. And the book is written in 1990. I had checked it. I'm reading one entitled Beach Party.
Okay,
Some come to party, some come to die. I love the tag.
that's great.
So some of these phrases are used in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see what they're pulling from at the same time. Because, like, within the first couple pages, the phrase gag me with a spoon is used. At the same time, though, the girl's best friend is like, did you seriously just say that? And then, like, they start laughing, and it's played off in that way, not in a serious manner.
Right,
So-
because again, that was stuff that was very. It was the stuff that you would hear on TV. The kid who was written by the 60-year-old writer.
Right. Right. So it's more whenever they say something like that, it's like it's played off for laughs and
Right.
they're being overly dramatic or having a good time. But it's not supposed to be taken serious at all. And so I see what they were trying to go for on some of the writing, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it right.
No, and like I said, there's so much that is just, I would say, 2010s and 2020 slang that is being used regularly in this. And again, I know this stuff is a little bit nitpicky that we're doing, but if you're setting your film in a specific era because you are trying to conjure a specific feel, you should at least be able to do better than, well, time cut.
Yeah.
And I feel like the teen audience, and I don't think this one is targeted towards a teen audience the way the other ones were. The other ones were very gory, but they were still, that was still kind of where it was targeted for. I think this is a nostalgia, an attempt to capture nostalgia for adults.
But it doesn't.
No,
There's
it doesn't
no
at all.
nostalgia in this.
Not a bit.
And it makes me so, because I was thinking going into it, because I heard everything, how bad it was. I was like, okay, at the very least, at least I get to watch something that's in an 80s style.
Right.
Because I love the 80s. And I'm like, I may have not grown up during that decade, but I'm obsessed with movies from that decade.
Right.
And I know the look. I know what they were supposed to be wearing. My friend had a closet of like her aunt's old clothes and dresses and like prom dresses and stuff, and we used to like dress up in them, and I always wanted to live through the 80s and everything. So
Right.
yeah, no,
Yeah. It's
it made me so sad and so mad at the same time.
it's just, yeah, it is. I just kept going, nope, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. And you don't have to be period accurate if you're making a slasher spin-off that is just trying to cash in on the success of the more successful films. But you have to at least try a little bit, I feel like. Yeah, Elle, how does it all work for you?
I have a feeling that people go into things for the 80s expecting kind of like what you got for the opening titles. And
Hmm.
no, that is a very specific niche subset of the 80s experience. It's like it wasn't all neon and synthwave or whatever. The 80s is wood paneling and cigarette smoke and leaded everything.
Yep.
So it actually lands a bit better than a lot of other 80s stuff I've seen. Because it's like you have severely misread the assignment if you give me something that is aesthetics and neon. Like, no. Go back and redo it. So it compared to the actual 80s, yeah, there's a lot of problems, but
Hmm.
it's a lot closer than a lot of people want to admit.
You're not wrong. Now, I'll argue it also depends on the tone of the movie, right?
Hmm.
If we're doing something that is a totally killer, time travel slasher comedy going back to the 80s, that's going to try to conjure more of that neon vibe because it's trying to have fun with it and it's
Yeah.
trying to go for more stylized look. That's fine. But yeah, I see what you're getting at. Not every film needs to, and it actually does kind of get a little monotonous. 80s nostalgia, I think, comes in waves a lot
Hmm.
because when we think 80s, big hair, shoulder pads, leg warmers, like all the big stereotypical stuff. You're right, that is a very specific niche.
Yeah, it's like when I was looking for specifically 80s aesthetics, it took me like 5 pages down on Google to get anything that wasn't almost like you were living inside a Pac Man cabinet. It's like, yeah, I get it, but that isn't actually indicative of the time period.
I mean, it is indicative of a specific part of
Hmm.
that time period.
Yeah, but as a whole,
Yeah, no, it's definitely not capturing the full breadth.
yeah, it's like you wanted your wall to be white, but it came out like a gross sort of yellow brown, and it's like, yeah, that's fine.
I definitely remember wood paneling, station wagons, yeah, the cigarette smoke.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing wrong with that,
No,
but that is you would administer that in a small dose,
right.
just to
Yeah, no, that's
a little
fair.
bit of flavoring. Yeah, so it is closer to the 80s than a lot of other 80s periods have been represented as to me. A lot of those feel like they're Blade Runner.
Which, as we all know, is your favorite movie.
Oh, absolutely love it so much. For the people at home, because this is an audio product, I nearly rolled my eyes out of my head. It actually hurts.
Yep. So, a couple things that I will give it credit for. One of them is I think when it does it, the gore is pretty good. I think it hides it most of the time, but there are a couple of legitimately well done gore sequences that entertained me. I'm thinking specifically of Handless Bobby trying to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, I laughed my ass off.
Yep.
After I was like, did you really just chop his hands off through the bone with a paper slicer that probably couldn't get through 5 pieces of paper?
So this was so funny to me because growing up as a kid, like that was my biggest fear in using a
Uh huh.
paper slicer
Yes,
was
it
that
was
that was going to
everybody's.
happen. Yeah.
But there's no way. Like,
No, but it was funny.
we see his hand and the bone is severed. And that's one of the few moments where I feel like this film hits the right tone of what it should have been going for.
I agree completely. That's what it should be. It should be over the top, fun,
Hmm.
camp.
You can do a serious, grounded, strictly terrifying 80s slasher. Nostalgia, but, and this is not, I'm not saying that this movie is not the Fear Street trilogy, therefore it is bad, because there are a lot of movies that get that curse laid upon them. The Godfather 3 is not The Godfather 1 or 2, therefore it is bad. Alien 3 is not Alien or Aliens, therefore it is a bad movie. The problem is those movies, however good or bad they might be, exist within the same world and tone of the films that they were part of a franchise with. Going back to that first question, this doesn't feel like a Fear Street movie. And I'm not saying because it doesn't have the witch or Dina or a member of the good family. It doesn't feel like it because it feels like it's an entirely different tone, color, setting, everything.
Apparently, there is a member of the good family.
Really?
Yeah,
Who?
the sheriff.
Did they call him good?
They in the credits he's listed as Sheriff Good, and it I think is mentioned in the 78 Fear Street that he's looking at retiring once Nick Good sort of gets that bit older. So it's like, yeah, he's on his last sort of legs essentially, but yeah, that's Nick's dad, I would imagine.
I guess
No,
so.
no, Nick's dad died in 78.
Did they call it out that is specifically?
They mention it at the beginning of
Hmm.
78 when he's talking to the
You're right. You're
to
right.
the guy,
yeah.
and then he mentions it later, talking about this responsibility, which we later figure out is more than just needing
Right.
to be like sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting then, because he's definitely credited as Sheriff Good.
Huh.
Maybe they didn't watch
Brother,
the movies.
uncle.
Could be an uncle. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they could have just not watched the fucking movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but what are the chances?
I don't think they watched the movies.
But yeah, I diverted from the gore discussion. I do think the gore is good. I do, again, I think that it skimps a few times on it. I mean, we get a good after the kill shot of Linda, but we have to make sure that we don't see it actually happen for some reason. Other than the axe to the back, which is fairly bloodless, we don't see what happens with Christy. It's only really once we get to the prom, to the later parts of the prom, that it really starts to cut loose. And then it's good, the gore, at least for me.
I feel it was a lot of them were too quick, and for the type of violence it is, like not bloodless, but there's not as much. Like as you mentioned with the paper slicer, it's like, oh, there's no way that's getting through bone. It's like, yeah, lean into it, make it that bit more brutal.
Yep.
Like it's just like slam it down a couple of times to then finally force through. But the art room scene did actually remind me of from the previous question about how it conjures the 80s. Why are all those flyers like photocopied? Why aren't they in that purple ink of the mimeograph or the spirit duplicator?
I'm pretty sure photocopiers were.
Yeah.
I know we had one in our school.
Yeah, but it's like for that sort of quick ease of use, it's like that would have been the preferred option, I believe. Because I mean, in my school, we were using them up to nearly to the year 2000. We had photocopiers, but it's like, well, this is for the better quality stuff. If we just want something cheap and nasty, you got to hand crank it.
Well, yes, but Linda was an entitled member of the popular girls, so she
May have
would
had,
absolutely want it to look as good as it needed to be.
Yeah, backstage cred gets her the advantage. Yeah, fair.
Yep.
And so then back to the gore and the kills. I have an issue with one of them. This is where I will take my stand. I am on my soapbox now.
Go for it.
The angle grinder with the saw blade attached to it. It just ends
Right.
up chopping through someone's head. That is too modern of an angle grinder for this era.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like with the shape of it, you can tell it's refined brushes. The saw is, I think, on the right way, but it's definitely not one that would be put on a grinder. Even if you were trying to be unsafe and quick and cheap, you would not put that blade on there because the bore would be different. And yeah, that looks like it's a chaser rather than a grinder. This is where my very niche knowledge of like power tools comes in.
Right. But hey, no, that's fair enough.
I hate that I have all this knowledge, but I have it and I hate it. So anytime there's any sort of power tools or whatever, I'm nitpicking the hell out of it.
What we're learning is no matter what your weird niche knowledge is, whether it is the release date of 1989 pop singles or power tools, there is something that this movie has done to piss you off.
And that axe, I don't know if that's how it is in America, but that is not a standard fire axe.
No.
Because it's got the bigger spike on the end, so that's closer to like a lumber mattock.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, yeah, so I think it could have been slowed down a little bit and dialed up a bit more. but I also don't know if that's because I watched Final Destination Bloodlines within 24 hours of watching this. So it was maybe a little bit of an unfair comparison.
Yeah, you did set this movie up to fail pretty fucking hard.
I can't help it. It was so good. The Bloodlines, not this. The Bloodlines
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very good.
I need
Yeah.
to watch this movie now.
Yes, you do.
I have never laughed so hard.
So Holly, outside of the paper slicer, which we talked about, how did the rest of the gore work for you in general?
I thought it was fun. You started. I'm totally ignoring the first death because that was stupid. But you started with the paper cutter, so you're starting strong, and the Linda with her guts hanging out of her and everything. Like that was all. That was fun.
Yeah,
I'm
the
kind of
guts was done effectively. I will give it that.
I'm disappointed we didn't see that though. We just heard it and then
Yep.
the gut. Yeah. Beyond that, it went over the top, which at least something did in this. They had an idea and they embraced it with the death,
Right.
and it worked better than most things in this movie. Especially by the time you get to the prom. Well, the killer in the prom, and they're
Right.
just chopping off limbs left and right.
Yep.
That was fun.
I agree with that. I do have to take this moment. I'm going to tell you what the dumbest death
Oh
in
yes,
this movie
please
is.
tell me,
It is fucking Debbie.
Debbie.
The electricity death.
Oh, it was so obvious too. The setup on that, and
Here's why it was the dumbest death. I can buy that Christy is so lost in her own world that she doesn't hear a very tall person stomping like they're a small child having a tantrum up to her from behind.
right.
Somehow I can buy that. What I cannot buy as having any sort of brain capacity is the way that they shot Debbie's death. Because I think this is a directorial error or an editing error, but I'm assuming it's Dan because he was big. Kills the boyfriend, kills Judd, comes after her. She backs around the corner. She stops, turns around to look specifically at the electrical board to make sure she's positioned right,
Yes.
turns back around, and then leaps back into it.
Yeah.
I mean, gets shoved back into it, but that's
she embraces her death.
kind of.
It's like, wait, let me make sure I'm in a good position for you to kill me.
That was the point that I gave up on this movie having any chance of being good.
Oh, I gave that up long before.
I was still hopeful that, like, okay, maybe a third act twist will fix it. And I do, we'll get there, but I do think the third act helps. Handicapped by the fact that it is such so the obvious choice. It is one of two most obvious people that it could be, but I'm getting ahead there.
I'll get there on my opinion.
Yeah.
But
How dangerous is that electrical switchboard that it just instantly goes? There is like exposed wiring and like live currents ready to kill.
Oh, no, that's completely unrealistic, but it's a horror movie. Like, that's a kind of enhanced reality that I can be like, okay, well, that's just, you're working within the tropes of the genre.
Yeah, because it's like they even showed, oh, here is a bare exposed wire arcing to the necklace that this is
Yeah.
what did it. It's like, you wouldn't have just an open exposed wire. It's like, the tradie in me coming back again.
That was entirely unrealistic, but I was okay with that because it's the boiler room of a high school in a slasher movie. Of course, the wiring is bad, and if you get too close to the electrical board, it's going to kill you. You just shouldn't turn around, make sure you're in the right spot, and then let the killer shove you back into it. But yeah, that scene, I can't believe that was intentionally the way that was supposed to look. So in my mind, that has to be an editing error. And to miss something that obvious is wild to me.
Are a lot of American high schools built on top of labyrinths?
No. My school was, though, not quite this level of labyrinth, but okay, so this is a fun story. Aloha High School. Underneath the auditorium, it was mostly used when I was there for the overflow for our costumes in theater and the book depository. It used to be a rifle range.
Well, of course, it was a book depository.
That is the joke. I mean, but it's not a joke. There really was a rifle range in the bowels of Aloha High School that at some point they took the rifle range out. I would assume it'd be the point where they thought, maybe we shouldn't have guns in this school, but that might be hoping too much. And then it ended up being the place, and not for like the new curriculum, it was just like overflow storage stuff. So yes, we did have an underground area. There were no windows that we could get out from, though.
Yeah, it just makes me curious because even like in houses, basements are not a thing here.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, we've got the opposite because a lot of the Queensland houses, like up north, are on stilts
Right.
because they get a lot of cyclones, hurricanes for you guys. So yeah, they're off the ground, so they can just withstand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another interesting little difference of region.
Yep. All right. So I think this is the part where we argue, Holly. What do we? I'll let you start. What do we think about the killer reveals? Both the first one and then the final act one.
Okay, so I will say, throughout the entire film, I thought it was going to be the assistant principal,
Same.
and she was killing them for Lori.
Yep.
So I actually was a little surprised when it was Tiffany's dad.
Right.
Now, the main reason I was surprised, I forgot about him. He was kind of an afterthought. He wasn't in the movie enough to really make me think about him.
Right.
I did think it could have been Tiffany's mom, and when it was the dad, I was like, okay. And then I was like, no, it's gonna be the mom too, isn't it? Especially when she wanted to like get home to Tiffany and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Tiffany for a bit because I was like, in the last scene, could that mother be any louder with the knife on the stair railing? And then Tiffany in the closet, I'm like, this is just a loud family during dangerous times. But it made perfect sense to me. And again, I really did think it was going to be the principal or the principal and her son, or vice principal, sorry,
Yep.
and her son. Like, I thought it would be the two of them. So my mind wasn't thinking about that family. But when I think back to it, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. I agree. I was 100% in because again, my first thought was, why would you cast Lily Taylor in this nothing role unless she was going to be the killer?
Yes.
And it all made sense and it was perfect. And I guess that's actually smart casting because it is a good misdirect. Like you are thinking everything is set up for you to think that she was going. I don't know how many people besides us thought that was going to be the case. Maybe everybody else homed in on Tiffany and family immediately.
One reason because I thought of Tiffany's mother
Mm-hmm.
about, I don't know, halfway, at some point in the film. I thought of her as a possibility, but the reason I didn't think it was her was because what is her name? Melissa? I think I'm remembering these names now. When Melissa is being killed and there are two killers, that is when the horrible dance off is happening. And you see Tiffany's mom watching her during this same scene. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so it can't be her.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I have an issue with that because I'm like, you don't see the dad, so you can play it off if there were only one killer killing her that was him.
Right.
But you cannot play it off that it was the mom because she was right behind Tiffany the whole time.
You're right. I mean, it's a dirty trick. It's the least of this movie's sins, but it's still one of them. You're not wrong. I was the exact same way with the dad. I was like, when it was revealed, I said, who is that?
So I did know who it was because I've seen this actor. He was in another show that I watched.
Yeah.
So I remembered him because I was like, right, he is in this film, isn't he? Because I kept thinking, oh, they don't give him a lot to do. But yeah.
I mean, you know where I know him from? American Pie.
Oh, I didn't realize he was in American Pie.
He's Oz in American Pie.
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen that. There's a Netflix show that I watch, and he was in that.
Got it. But yeah, so I was like, okay, weird but sure. And as he's getting pulled away, I'm like, well, okay, clearly it's the mom.
Right. Well, she had to be the mastermind. The dad's not the mastermind.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I did not see Tiffany being one because I didn't think it's not the most clever thing in the world, but I didn't think this movie was clever enough to do three killers.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that won me over with the end reveal was A, the fact that the Tiffany thing actually got me, because I do think that was slightly clever, and that Catherine Waterston gets to do, she's not as out there as Mrs. Loomis is.
Yeah.
Because that's not this film. That's not the tone that this is going for. And if somebody tried to do that level of nuts, it wouldn't have worked in this movie. But she does get to do her own version of, like, I'm crazy evil. And it's fun. And then I just like the cake on the balcony and the impaling. That stuff was good. It wasn't worth the other 97 because I feel like this is almost a 2-hour movie.
No.
Is it not? Because it felt
No.
like it.
It's 88 minutes.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. I looked it up.
Lies
Going
cannot be.
into it, I'm going into it. I was like, this is a really short movie.
Okay, well, the last 10 minutes are not worth the other 3.5 hours I felt like I watched.
It's 90 minutes if you include the credits.
And well, you have to include the credits, otherwise, how are you going to get the mid-credit scene?
Oh yes, of course.
Elle, how does the killer reveals work for you? Did you see these coming, or was there anybody else, or did you get to the point like, who cares?
No, I got the similar thing where it's like, and the big reveal. Wait, who's that again?
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I didn't have the vice principal as one of the suspects. I had her son
Yeah,
because it's like you drew too much attention to him to then do nothing with him.
right.
It's like, yeah, you've pointed it out. Is anything? No, it's just in the background. That's weird that you would spend that much time then. And then
No, you do that because you want him to be the red herring.
They didn't even do that. Like they didn't.
I mean,
do
they just made everybody a red herring.
in that they really didn't set up anyone. Like, so then when it gets to Tiffany's mum, then yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Throwing in Tiffany as well is like, okay, this is now too much. It's
You're
like
putting the hat upon the hat.
Yeah, it's a hat on a hat. Yeah, I think you would have been better served having her as a complete innocent in this. It's like, yeah, I wanted it, but it's not worth this or whatever. And I think controversially, I wouldn't have had Laurie make that final kill. I would have had maybe her mum come in because, like, we don't see enough of her. It's like,
no,
is she she's a cop or something?
Yes,
I think so.
Yeah, so why
she's
not,
either a cop or an official-looking security guard. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it's like, why not have her like come in dramatically and like shoot Tiffany's mum as the final thing?
Yeah,
Like,
it would make sense.
Final redemption, basically.
It would almost turn her into a character.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. So that's a thing. I was 100% sure in the first scenes, like, okay, her mom's a cop in Shady Side. Okay, cool. But the fact that she was supposedly on suspicion of murder and they never reference everybody who says that she killed Lori's dad, you'd think one of them would be like, well, guess how she got away from it? She was a cop or something like that.
or even like use that to pay off. Like at the moment, it's like, hey, you wanted me to be a killer. Well, now I am.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if she's a cop.
Yeah, but she's something because it's like, hey, I'm pulling a double shift. How many people work double shifts in any industry?
I mean, there are double shifts in a lot of.
Yeah, but not in a horror movie.
She's definitely wearing either a police or a security officer uniform.
Yeah. So that's how I would have done it. The triple act of the entire family getting in on it just doesn't feel earned. Weirdly.
It's okay.
They also really set up that Falcon set piece early, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did, which is fun. I am okay with a Chekhov's killer art piece. So Here's the thing, I liked as much as I did like the Tiffany reveal because I didn't expect it. Two things. A, I think it would have been more subversive and interesting if she wasn't involved. And two, and I'm going to say this in a vague way because it is a recent-ish movie that we might cover at some point that I am moderately certain Elle has not seen. And I am 100% certain. I know, I'm really shooting in the dark on that one, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh, the many things you can just pick out. It's like, oh, what are the chances?
Yep. I'm 100% certain that Holly has seen this.
Okay. What movie?
It's a movie in which, without saying the name, so I don't reveal the spoiler,
Uh-huh.
it is a movie in which a family of 3 turns out to be the killers.
Twilight.
It's a slasher movie. It's one you have seen all the entries in.
Oh, okay.
Breaking Dawn.
You can't tell me that they didn't rip that off.
Yes. I did have that thought too. Yes, I'm sorry. It's been a weekend, okay?
No, it's
Sorry,
fine.
my head is. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about now, and I completely agree.
So let me run through just the small selection of things I can think of off the top of my head right now of movies that are absolutely ripped off in this. Mean Girls, Heathers,
Mm-hmm.
that movie,
Mm-hmm.
Scream, because 90% of the mystery stuff is set up the red herring in the way
Mm-hmm.
that Scream does it. Obviously, Prom Night, Carrie, Prom Night Remake. Even, and this is a little bit of a stretch, but I have to wonder about the fact that it is a weapon that makes sense within a high school. But the first thing I thought of when I saw that paper slicer was Megan, a very popular movie that came out 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just the ones off the top of my head. I'm sure there are a ton more. Like, I don't think this movie has an original thought. So, final question before we get into recommendations and our final thoughts on the film. Let's assume, and in my case, I hope that the Fear Street franchise continues after this because this can't be the end. Like, not like this.
Please don't let it end like this. Yeah.
Like I would be sad, but I would accept it if there was a very good sequel that came out or spin-off and it just didn't get the views and that was the end of the franchise. My concern is that this one will do well and Netflix will take the wrong lessons away from it.
No one want. I've listened to many reviews. I've read many over the past weekend. No one wants it to end.
No.
They just want them to do better.
Yes. So what do we want from the next film? I think would just be a good one. But what do we think they should do to sort of course correct here? For example, my concern is that they're going to do one of two things. It's going to be a hit, and then they're just going to say, oh, well, just keep churning out. As long as they have a Fair Street title and a vague relation to the books, it'll be fine. They'll keep watching. The other lesson, which would be wrong, is oh, this movie did well because I do think it's going to do at least moderately well. I don't know if it'll do well enough to continue, but I think it'll do moderately well. Would be Netflix going, oh, this did well, but clearly people are upset with this. Let's just go directly back to let's make another film in the Sarah Fear story. And like directly try and go off, do what Lucas and Disney kept doing with Star Wars, which is because this one film didn't work. God forbid we make other films that are unique spins on the universe. Let's just go back to the one story we know that's successful. I like the idea of that story being over, but other things you can tell like middle era stories in it and explore the other killers and the like. I don't know if that's what would be what they would do. So those are my concerns about the different ways that it can go wrong. What do we think they should hopefully take as positive, like lessons to go in the right direction?
So, if you're going to continue with adapting like Fear Street novels,
Right.
if they can do a faithful adaptation, I want them to do Switched,
Okay.
which is they still build into a bit of the Sarah Fear story, and like it's part of her cabin. There's like this mysterious wall. If you jump off it while holding hands with someone, you switch bodies. And then it's like, oh, my life sucks. I just want to change. Oh yeah, don't worry, change with me. Go to your house. Oh shit, you've killed your family. What do I do?
Right.
And it goes from there. Apparently, like one of the best endings in any of the books. It's like one of R.L. Stein's favorites.
Right on.
But as a sort of a joke, but I think we can actually get the inside scoop on this one. Number 34 of the original Fear Street series. What Holly heard. Holly, can you give us the spoilers on this one?
Wait, is this a book?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is a book. Okay. Okay, yeah. So I heard the next movie's not gonna suck. I don't know.
Great news. But yeah, it's like they have set up enough killers in like that whole chain of events. It's like you could just dip into one of their stories.
Yeah.
But this is just calling me out from high school. Sorry, I'm reading the description.
Just
Holly has
completely
not-
blindsided you.
Not only a big mouth, but big ears like satellite dishes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
But yeah, if they're going to continue to adapt other books, do a very faithful adaptation of Switched, and I'll be happy.
Fair enough. I will say there is one thing. I did this ways it can go wrong. I will do one thing that Netflix should damn well do, which is crawl on their hands and goddamn knees to Lee Janiak and say, please come back. Please save our horror franchise that we stumbled into and just managed to fuck up.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I feel like a lot of the you could do this same script and would have the same problems, but I do feel like so much of the problems come down to the direction, just the way things are framed, and the fucking Christie scene, which is definitely the second dumbest. It is real dumb and isn't even exciting. Like it's in the most boring set place possible in an open parking lot. Holly, what would you hope that they do?
Oh,
Notions of what?
I was gonna say I'm over here buying a book right now. I have to. You can't call me out like this, and then I don't. Okay.
Gotta. Yes.
Sorry. Yes, my
No, you're good.
expectations. Okay, what I think they should do. First, I think they should set up a series of different Fear Street movies because we got this one. I did hear something else might be in the works, but I don't know. Possibly a continuation. I know everybody wants a continuation of the original three, and they're mad that this was not. You set the bar very high, and then you gave us crap on a plate.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not going to say that this was the only option they go, and if they hadn't done this, I would, because if they can make a good Fear Street movie out of anything, I'm fine with it. But I don't understand how you create a trilogy with that many unexplored but visually interesting killers and then don't make that the next film.
Yes. And that comes off what I think they should do next. And it is the popular opinion because a lot of people want this. I think they should do a Ruby Lane movie.
Yes.
And I know they might be afraid to do it because people already know the story. But I will argue that I'm a big Hunger Games person. I recently read the latest book. It is about a character we already knew how it was going to end because it's a prequel book. We already knew this character from the original trilogy. We already knew what their Hunger Games was like, and so everyone was like, well, this can't possibly surprise us. It surprised everybody. It was incredible. It was incredibly dark. It was very good. And
is this Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes?
No, this is the latest one, which is Sunrise on the
okay.
It's about.
Because I would say Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the same thing, and I haven't read the book, but the movie was damn good.
This is Sunrise on the Reaping. It's about the 50th Hunger Games, and it follows Haymitch from the original trilogy.
Okay.
And in the second book of the original trilogy, they actually have a part where they show you his Hunger Games.
Right.
And so everyone was saying, well, this can't possibly surprise us. And it did. And it was amazing. Everything that was done, they're currently turning it into a movie.
Of
Um,
course.
and the cast is amazing. They've recently released the cast. I'm very much looking forward to it. But you can do something like that with one of these other killers. I go to Ruby Lane because she's my favorite and a fan favorite.
Yep.
You could also do one of the other killers. You could do a killer we have never even heard of.
Yeah. There are a lot of names
But
on that wall.
you can do it. You can still surprise people. People will still watch it. I promise you, people will watch it, especially if it is directly connected to the other Fear Street movies.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So, L, if somebody saw this movie and they wanted to see something related to it, but was actually good, what would you recommend to them?
I think I would go for Carrie, just
Yeah.
because it's the same type of vibe, but good.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It's definitely be a good choice.
Other than that, maybe Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Interesting.
Because again, it gives me that same sort of vibe without it being the first one, because that doesn't quite fit as much, I think.
Oh, I can kind of see where you're going.
Yeah, like two hits me a little bit closer to where I think this wanted to go.
Yeah, and it's definitely an out of sync with the other film for a lot of reasons, not just the reason that everybody always talks about. No, I can see that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit offbeat, but I think that would be, you'd get in the right mindset, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hmm.
Holly, how about you?
I would, and I'm terrified that I'm taking your pick.
Okay.
I would go with Prom Night.
Nope, you did not take my
Oh,
my
cool.
pick.
I would also original Prom Night. Yes. If you
Mhm.
want to watch the remake, it's better than this. Like the remake of Prom Night.
I would watch this again before I watch the Prom Night remake. I
It's
have a deep hatred for that movie. To be fair, I haven't seen it in like
it's not that bad. It's a slasher flick to put on in the background.
you want to talk about a film that doesn't do any blood.
True. There's
None.
yeah,
And there
there's
might be dumber characters than Debbie in how they die in that one.
yeah. Watch the original.
Yeah,
Go with the original one.
that's fair. I had two that I was going between. Prom Night was never going to be my pick because I do like the original Prom Night. It's not one of my absolute favorites. And fuck it, I'll just do both of them because if you watch this one, you're gonna need at least two good films to wipe this one from your memory. I'm gonna go with Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, which is better than the original Prom Night. This and the Prom Night remake combined is a very campy supernatural ghost slasher delightful little mess of a movie that features an absolutely must-see lead performance or villain performance rather. If you're looking for something that is close to this but good, I would go with Jawbreaker, which
Love
is
that movie.
it's so good. In late 1990s, I think it's 97, 98. I may be wrong about that. Written and directed by Darren Stein with an I almost used the word killer, but I don't do the puns. That's other people.
Hello.
It's 99.
99. A truly fantastic cast. We have Rose McGowan. We have Rebecca Gayheart. We have Julie Benz, Darla from Buffy, Judy Greer, Carol Kane, Pam Grier. Like, the cast is unbelievable. And it is about three very popular girls from a high school, and they play a prank on their friend who is the prom queen, and she ends up choking to death on a jawbreaker. And then another girl finds out, and things get complicated. It is very fun. It is a lot smarter than I think it got credit for when it was initially released because people didn't know what to make of it when it was first released. And it was badly misunderstood by a lot of critics. Like I said, it's very smart. It has a very, I don't want to say nasty, but no, yeah, it has a nasty sense of humor to it. It's just a blast. Everybody should watch it. So yeah, let's get a final thoughts on Fear Street Prom Queen. Elle, where you putting this one?
I liked it by comparison. I think that is the saving grace for me for this one, is that
Okay.
I saw how much worse it could have been.
That is absolutely fair.
I stared into the abyss and it gave me a novel. So I will give it 2 incorrectly sized fire axes out of 5.
Fair enough. Holly, let it have it.
It's so bad. I hate it so much. It kills me on the inside. Like, Shawnee didn't get a chance to watch it and wants to watch it, and I don't know if I want to rewatch it because I don't. Oh. Like, I probably will rewatch it, but it's just, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, my review is more sounds like, bleh, you know.
Weeping in the corner.
I just, words don't even exist in my vocabulary
Legit.
on this. I'm gonna give it, I think for a second, 1.5 cardboard cutout actors out of 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I am on about as negative as I was and as relatively positive as Ellen. I am on about the same rating. I think because that final act, which is what the rest of the movie should have been in tone, really, really did a lot of heavy lifting for me. And I liked Melissa as a character, and I thought that Ella Rubin did a really good job with that performance. But this is bad. This is a really bad movie. It is not the worst movie I've seen this year. It's not the worst horror movie I've seen this year, from this year, but the ones that are worse, they never had a chance. This one had a chance. Like, I will watch this before I watch. Oh, that's not true. Woman in the Yard had a chance, and it's a worse movie. But I will watch this before I watch Woman in the Yard. I will watch this before I watch. It's not a horror movie, but Snow White again. It's bad. It's two incredibly uninspired killer outfits. Because we didn't even get into that. So yeah, that is mercifully, thankfully, the end of Fair Street Prom Queen for us. Next episode, we will be covering one that Holly, what are we covering?
Okay, going off of just a horrible misery for me, we will be covering one of my favorites I used to watch growing up, called Watcher in the Woods, Disney's attempt at horror. It's fantastic. It's actual 80s. It's Betty Davis. It's amazing.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Betty Davis.
You
So
really can't, no.
before then, you can find us at whatever podcatcher you prefer. We are on Blue Sky and Instagram at Final Ghouls Pod.
Yeah, look, we've just given you 2.5 hours of raw audio at this point. Editing will come later. And, time is money. So we've given you 2 hours of money for free. So you can go and rate and review us on your podcatchers of choice, preferably 5 stars. Takes about 30 seconds. Are we not worth 30 seconds of money?
I mean, we watched this movie, so you didn't have to. So we took that bullet for you, listeners. We love you that much. Meanwhile, you can find me at J Thomas for Woman Mania on Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram.
I am at shards@kind.social on Mastodon and Shards System on Letterboxd.
You can find me at Holly Culp on Blue Sky and Miniature Magic 18 on Instagram.
And you can find us all playing role-playing games at Final Show Films on Twitch and YouTube. Elle, give us our horror book survival guide tip.
So the survival tip for this episode is don't try to solve puzzles that open doorways to hell. That's just really basic. Guys, there's BDSM clubs for that if you want it.